Market vitals, the levels you need to triage the market. HFR from the floor. Mistrade, actually the ghost today. We had a little technical difficulties, but gracefully, G and the regime has only been able to decay the video. Definitely just the video gone for Matt Davio, part of the Davos collection. From the stratosphere. I don't know. How you doing, Matt? Voice only.
Doing great, Bob. Great live performance again last night. Enjoyed.
Who'd you see?
Amos Lee, famous Amos.
Amos Lee, you know, I was trying to pitch the Let's Go See, and I thought Amos Lee was Ray LaMontagne.
Yeah. No.
You know how you get an artist mixed up in your head, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, we got to go see him. It's Amos Lee.
He's also not G Love, but he is from Philly. So really good. I mean, he's been around a while, but super talented, man.
And a super talented band, more importantly.
Oh, the band was just killer. Multi instruments. You had 7-person band, bass, a couple guitars, keyboards, drums, another keyboard, and then the keyboardist and one of the guitarists played mandolin. One of that same mandolin guitarist played saxophone, and then another trumpet back there just ripping it up on a couple. Sweet Pea, you know that song Sweet Pea?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hey Matt, jobs blow off double what I mean, who's doing the fucking prognostications on this shit? Like, how can you be wrong by half? How can there be twice as many jobs? I mean, shouldn't that person be dragged into the office and given a timeout? I mean,
well, no,
seriously,
they were given the directive to make sure that the recession isn't happening. So
who cares about the recession, this or that? I mean, verbiage, it's all fucking verbiage.
Yeah.
The truth is being told in the bonds. Why don't you bring the bonds up?
Yeah, it is being told, and we've been watching it all week, and the break happened a couple days ago. So I have a feeling that this could be, maybe a little break for, we've had a 21% move now since mid-June in the NASDAQ. But again, we were talking about the 146 level. 145.31 was your high on Tuesday. Here we are Friday, taking out, not only making fresh new lows, but taking out last week's lows. So that's a really important data from a weekly perspective, because you're ending on a low for the week for sure. This is happening, looks like, and we're also taking out last week's lows. So
yeah, and they, from a standard deviation modeling, especially on the weekly, two things. The candle on the weekly is a brutal for the people that thought the bottom was in, as we have a giant engulfing candle now, and they can't hold this up momentum level, which they've held for the past 3 weeks, and change the slope of it. Next week, it's really interesting for me. Let me share real quick on this. If I can share, if you'll let me share. Sharing is what we do. Sharing is caring, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I saw for this, you were mentioning how you've heard people talking about we're going to make new highs in the stock market by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me headwinds as far as rates. This gives the Fed ample available narrative to keep raising rates. I saw the year-over-year wages, hourly wages, up 5.2% or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, from a company standpoint, if you're
it's bad all around.
Paying more, if your inputs are more,
mm-hmm.
I just don't see how that plays out. Anyway, this is the weekly T-bond futures weekly. Again, you see this major engulfing candle here. 141.22 is the up-mo level. We're below that now. The interesting thing for me will be next week. If they can't recapture that upward sloping momentum level, I don't see why they don't go test the other level. We call it a coast-to-coast trade. 136.17 is the opposite momentum level. And that seems pretty reasonable for me to see. Maybe next week we get that. I mean, they've put in a giant range here this week. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to go test these lower levels. I don't know. I just want to point that out, that nuance. I don't look at candlesticks very often. I look for dojis and I look for engulfing candles. And it's pretty clean now, this chart for me. It's pretty clean. They have to recapture UPMO next week, which will probably come in at, if we just do a little math here, this week's at 141.22. Last week was at 141.04, 18 higher. So let's just put it at that. You do that math. 22 and 8, it'll be 142.10, basically, roughly, on my rough mathematics. Anyway, Matt, let me jump here and then we'll jump to a couple of charts here. We talked about Michael Yan in his interview with Jordan Peterson at the beginning of the week. But this was an interesting article. He's talking about Germany. Everybody knows the story about natural gas, the Russian control of the flow. But this one was what I didn't even know this, that BASF is a massive chemical manufacturing company, nitrogen-based fertilizers using natural gas and air. I didn't even know that there was a giant use for natural gas to make fertilizer. So this company was actually saying, or he's saying in this article, that they're going to kick back the natural gas because they don't want to see people freezing to death this winter. But that makes a giant hole in the fertilizer. And so one thing that I thought of right away is like, well, what are the other fertilizers used is potash, and that's actually mined, a mining. Anyway, MOS, Mosaic, and NTR are two potash stocks that will benefit from a lack of natural gas based fertilizer for sure.
Yeah, let's take a look at natural gas to begin with, and then we can look at those two names. But this has gone again crazy from 530 to 977, which was a new high on the move, on the year, and pulled back here and seems to be holding kind of the 750 level. This looks pretty bullish to me still on a 15-minute chart. This is obviously we're going back a few months here. I don't know. This looks good, especially if you can get it back down in the 7 area, high, 675, 7 area. Looks really good. But yeah, I don't see how this can't go higher. Matter of fact, the interesting thing with oil going lower over the last few days, and Saudi oil is selling for more than it ever has to China. So I don't know if you saw that. So
I did see that. And again, man, there's arbitrage in things, and arbitrage becomes very difficult when you have to factor in how hard is it to move that commodity.
Yeah.
So we talk about arbitrage all the time in financial assets where it's just bookkeeping. I mean, it's clean arbitrage, but arbitrage in commodities becomes much more difficult.
Right.
So very interesting nuance that China and the rest of Asia has an insatiable appetite for crude, even though the rest it's coming down here.
Yeah. So I think that's going to continue to be an interesting story is all I'm saying. I don't think kind of plays into my longer term thesis, which is, maybe you get through the sale month of August on crude here, but I don't see it staying down much longer in the fall. I just don't. So I think you got to really kind of pay attention to the timing on that trade more than anything. And it was cheap. It got down to 87 again today. Crude did, and it bounced all the way back to, I think, 91. It was sitting at 90 before we came on the show. But NTR, let's look at those two fertilizer names along with the nat gas. You want to look at NTR pays a dividend of 2.3%, which I wanted to see. Looks like it may have found a recent bottom here, 70, 78. So big pullback, really big pullback on that fertilizer. But I don't know. I mean, the demand's got to be there for the product, but can they make it? Can they manufacture it? Can they, like you're saying, can they do what they need to do? I don't know. I'm not.
Well, again, this is from, potash is mined. It's from the ground.
Yeah.
And so if you can't make natural gas based fertilizer, this is the alternative.
Mosaic we've looked at before, most recently.
Yeah, because I thought it was Altria. But anyway, yeah.
No, but we've looked at it before. We have looked at this name, and it came, again, for the last couple of weeks from July, it found a bottom, and it's, up a solid 20-25%.
A beautiful price action around that long-term point of control too. It's just based there.
Yeah. So that looks okay also. I wanted to look a little bit at gold, if you don't mind, because
Not at all.
everybody was getting excited again about gold over 1800 yesterday. Well, that didn't last. That didn't last again.
Just pummeled.
Just smashed again. Anytime it gets up there, everybody gets all, and again, so kind of a throw over here on this old bracket that we've been in. And it's just one of the mini brackets, but nothing's changed on this long-term chart. I mean, it's just, I get like a broken record talking about it, but
You're a much better looking
hopefully
broken record than previous.
but look at it. It fell out of balance. Now it's coming back in and testing. I think you're going to redistribute here. There's plenty of interested parties to sell. I just don't, after rising, what did we get down to 1675? So we went up $150. We went up 10% because everything else was going up. So again, it's a market where all assets are one, and they all went up together. So it doesn't matter whether it's gold. Only thing that's not going up right now is oil. Interest rates, again, let's talk about that, because the bonds got killed the 2 years back to 3.25%. And it got up as, its high was 350. So watch that level again. See if it tests it, see if it takes it out.
What's crazy, Matt, is people thinking, and I've always thought that.
But you see these moves.
It doesn't need to kill the economy. Like if your borrowing costs like your business model doesn't allow for decades and decades, businesses ran on borrowing costs that are higher than they have been for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So I just don't get that mindset. Like, oh no, if they raise rates, they're going to kill the economy. How shitty is your business? Is my question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And the 10-year had a big pullback. Rates got towards 6, and then they pulled all the way back to 5 on the 30-year mortgages. That's kind of where we were sitting. But I think those are starting to rise again. These moves today, look at this, 5 points. These are big moves. I mean, again, there's some big shit happening in the bond markets that people aren't even paying attention to. And that's why we're here to bring it up, because those bonds are getting crushed, which means higher interest rates. And look at just today, 6%. Look at that.
That is massive.
Those are some big percentage moves when it comes to interest rates. And we were also talking.
Matt, the recording is paused. Why is the recording paused?
Yeah, that's it.
The whole thing's a bust. The whole thing's a bust. Without Lee in the production booth, nothing gets done correctly.
But this one was interesting. We can just continue on into this thread. But Bill McBride calculated risk newsletter today. This was from a day ago. But Denver real estate in July, sales off 31% year over year, inventory up 82%. Wow, that's real. I mean, that's happening everywhere. I know somebody that just moved from Denver and sold their house, so they got out just in time. Lucky ducks, and moved to Bend and paid top dollar. But yeah.
Good news. The good news. Another good news.
Another good news.
All right, man. Good news doesn't sell. So before we go, bring up the NASI. Let's just look at the stock market as it can, because sort of a two-way market here today.
It's been a two-way market the last couple of days. I mean, it's just
So really there's for sure. We call that an argument, Matt. There's for sure arguments going on here on future pricing.
Yeah, well, let's look at the SPOOs, because they couldn't get over 75 again, and everybody was getting so frothy. They're down 10, but they're at 41, 42. I don't know. It's just,
well, amazingly, it looks like it's putting in the same congestion area that they put it in June.
It's a great
May 27th through June, let's call it 8th, and then they fell out of bed. We're right back in that same area. So we're going to congest here and then make another leg higher, because higher rates, higher input costs as far as wages, and
probably the best thing here would be for a little break, at least come back into the top of balance. About 4,000. That's about
bring it up. We don't see it.
So
hostess with the mostest
on the SPOOs, 41.75 is basically our highs here. Overnight again, and it's just sitting kind of in where it's traded all week. Again, I feel like I'm rinse and repeating. Like, we're not going anywhere. Yeah, we're up again. We've made new highs all week, but I don't know. This close is not getting me that excited. But let's just look at the the 1 week chart. I mean, again, this is the second. So here's Monday. Monday basically we ran right up here to 41.50, and we're running right to it right now again, 41.45. So basically from the open Monday, we haven't gone anywhere. So, I'm just kind of putting it out there. We're not really going anywhere. But in the meanwhile, dollar's going higher, rates are going higher. Dollar higher is not good for the equity market. So something's, and we had
something's got to give, Matt. Something's got to give.
We had a big tag off that 150, that one right here this week. We went right down to 105, and we said, get to 105, buy it again. So that continues to hold, and maybe now we're going to make a run for, maybe now we start making a run for that this fall and take out that 109, and that's when the market goes obviously lower. When that happens, the equity market does. So watch that dollar. If 105 goes, then maybe the bullish case is on and the dollar breaks here, right? And then that's inflationary for everything. So everything just keeps going. And in this, upside down world, that's a possibility. That's a real
right on.
Then maybe we see new highs, right? But I'd watch the dollar. Like, if we can't hold that 104.50 area, 104, then maybe all bets are off, and we're gonna go make new highs and go to 5,200, yada yada.
All right, that's all we got. It's a Friday. Please enjoy yourself. You trade and make money for something, whatever it is. Do it, man. Get out there and enjoy yourself. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. Please share and retweet and plagiarize far and wide. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Bobby. Have a good one.
Right on.